So normally I usually do the intro to this video after I do the review for NXT this week. So I kind of missed out on a prediction as you're going to watch this video, and that is the match between Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews at NXT TakeOver London. I think in terms of this match, I feel like that, you know what? I don't think a loss for Apollo Crews would really hurt his career because he's only really young and he's just starting out. And I think Baron Corbin, based on what he's done so far in NXT, I think he's due for a win here at NXT TakeOver. And I think he should be the guy to beat Finn Balor for the title somewhere down the line. So Baron Corbin, all hail. Let's get on with the review and the predictions for NXT TakeOver London. Hello all NXT fans and welcome to another wrestling related video with me, Mike McRock, one half of the MRB Wrestling Review Show, and right now I am going to deliver to you this week's review for WWE NXT. This is the go-home show to NXT TakeOver London that takes place next week, and a special start time of 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, so you might see it early on the WWE Network for only $11.99 here in Canada and $9.99 in the US. So we kick off NXT this week with Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy in an enhancement momentum match against Corey Hollis and John Scholar, and that's basically what I just said. Enhancement momentum match where Enzo and Colin Cassidy go over. But there was something different about this match that I really liked. I really liked that when Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy came out, there's no microphone in hand. They didn't cut their usual stick of this is Enzo and this is Big Cass and he's 7 foot tall and you can't teach that, etc. There was none of that. It was these two and Carmella walking out very serious, very focused, and they beat the heck out of Corey Hollis and John Scholar in this match. And I gotta say, in terms of psychology, Enzo and Cass delivered the goods this week. I feel that Enzo and Cass are really due for something right now, and that is the NXT title run for them. And to me, they were just great in this segment, and especially when they came out again during their entrance, and I loved it. And in terms of psychology, they were really good. And like I said, I feel that Enzo and Cass are due for something, and I feel like the title run with Dash and Dawson is kind of transitional. And with that said, if I'm going to predict right now who's going to win the NXT Tag Team title match, I'm going to pick Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. And the reason why I'm going to choose them is because, to me, they have come back now as a team, and now they're being inserted into an NXT title picture, and to me, it would make no sense if they were to lose this match at all. And on the flip side of it, what makes Dash and Dawson stand out as a tag team is that they are the tag team champions, and that's what makes them look like a legit tag team, in my opinion. So I'm kind of torn between who should win this match. But in terms of what NXT should do, I think, in my opinion, Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy should walk out at NXT TakeOver London as the new NXT Tag Team Champs. It's only fitting when they came back just not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. So this is one match that I'm actually looking forward to more than other matches on the card next week. And I'll explain that as I go along. Then we get Asuka versus Deanna Purrazzo. This is an enhancement match where Asuka goes over. Emma and Dana come out and try to cause a distraction to make Asuka lose, but that's not going to happen. She kicks Deanna and knocks her out, which is a different win for Asuka, which I like. To me that was effective in terms of putting Asuka over in a different way. But in terms of a distraction, to me that was a little lame, on the part of Emma and Dana Brooke. And to me, it just seems like that Emma is being fed to Asuka heading into next week. So I'm going to say Asuka wins in this match against Emma. In my opinion, that's what's going to happen there. Then we got the Hype Bros versus Blake and Murphy. And even though, this was an okay match, I like Zack Ryder. I like the role that he's in with pairing up with Mojo ever since then. He's been really good on NXT, and the fans love him. And in terms of in-ring work, this was an okay match. But to me, I don't see why on a go-home show this match should take place when NXT is not doing anything with these two teams. So to me, this match just really served no purpose on the show, and it wasn't really necessary. And it was basically filler. And I was kind of bored with the match. I just wanted this match to end to get to the next segment. And the next segment on the show was Bayley versus Peyton Royce. And this was an enhancement match, an anticlimactic match that nothing really stood out about it besides Peyton Royce smelling the flower. I'm not sure what that was all about, but again, this was Bayley's momentum heading into TakeOver London. Then we get Eva Marie and Nia Jax come out, and Eva was about to cut a promo, but the fans were already booing her, so Nia Jax grabs the mic and says, "Let me do the talking," and she talks about how she's going to beat Bayley next week at TakeOver London. Pretty standard, and this was the first time that we actually got to see Nia Jax cut a promo. I thought she was fine in her delivery. However, I think her strengths lie in what she does inside the ring, which she's dominating one of her opponents. That's where she should do most of the talking instead of cutting basic promos that kind of felt like every other heel diva on the show. So let her do the talking. Let her speak volumes inside the ring while she's wrestling. In my opinion, that's where her strengths lie. Now we got the main event of the night, and that was Samoa. Now, okay, before I get into the main event, I just want to make a prediction about the Bayley versus Nia Jax match heading into TakeOver London. I think, in my opinion, Bayley's ready for the main roster. She's main roster ready. So I would actually be okay if Nia Jax beats Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship. I would be perfectly fine with that. I mean, they bring in Kevin Owens, and 3 months to the day he wins the NXT Championship. Well, Nia Jax has only been around at least about a couple of months or so, and I think she's already ready and already proven herself to be NXT Women's Champion. And I feel like that if that's the case, well then Bayley, well, she's on her way to Raw. And even though, I had this whole thing about NXT talent going to Raw and Raw not using them right. Yeah, you get it. If you watch my if you watch my video on WWE NXT ruins NXT talent, you'll know what I'm talking about here. And that's my prediction. I'm going to predict Nia Jax to win. Now, on the other side of that, there's not a whole lot of build up to this match, so I'm not as interested as I wanted it to be. It's no Bayley versus Sasha Banks heading into an Iron Woman match, but hey, we got what we got here, and I'm fine with Nia Jax. If she goes over, I'm perfectly fine with it. Now we get to the main event, and that was Samoa Joe and Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor and Apollo Crews. And going into this match, I was curious to see how this would end, and in terms of what should happen here, and I was actually quite surprised with it, and I was actually quite pleasant of how this match ended and how the show ended as well. It was actually pretty strong and very solid. And that's what this match was. It was a strong and solid, good match. Pretty standard, and it got the point across in an effective way. And I like how the match ended because you want to put Crews and Corbin to the side and really focus more on the main event on NXT TakeOver London, which was Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. And I like that the end result was involving those two and having Samoa Joe make Finn Balor pass out to the Coquina Clutch and make Finn Balor drool. That image to me was actually quite impressive. And even though to a momentum standpoint, you could kind of see that Finn Balor would retain the NXT Championship because of how NXT and WWE standards would apply in. However, NXT is doing a really good job here in terms of, wow, Finn Balor may not beat Samoa Joe. I mean, NXT has done a really good job in building up Samoa Joe as a monster heel and makes us wanting to root for Finn Balor a lot more, and that's probably the main reason why I think Finn Balor will retain, and I think Finn Balor should retain the NXT Championship, because I don't see how Samoa Joe would benefit in being the NXT Champion. To me, he's the type of guy in his career, at his point right now, to make other people look good and look strong at the end, and I think that's what he's there for, to serve Finn Balor as a reason for him to beat Samoa Joe. That's what I think will happen at NXT TakeOver London. So overall, for a go-home show, it's not the best in recent memory, but it's not the worst either. It got the point across in parts. There were some parts I don't think that were necessary, and some of it wasn't as effective as I thought. And for some reason, it doesn't feel like an NXT TakeOver event is happening next week, mainly because I feel like some elements in the show were a bit rushed, like Bayley and Nia Jax. I mean, there's not a lot of build-up there. Enzo, Kaz, and Dash Dawson, there's some build-up there. But mainly, there's more build-up to the main event, which is the most important. And at least they touched on the 3 main titles. Now, in terms of a go-home show, yeah, it wasn't great, but it got the point across, like I said. And I'm actually still looking forward to seeing what happens at NXT TakeOver London. And that's my thoughts on NXT. To me, the show focused more on putting on an NXT standard episode than a go-home show, but that's just me nitpicking. That's just me nitpicking. But that's my overall thoughts about NXT this week, and now my question to you. What are your thoughts about this week's episode of NXT, and what are your predictions for NXT TakeOver London? If I missed anything, leave those comments in the below, and leave your thoughts about NXT this week and your predictions for NXT TakeOver London. We'll see you next week. And a final message to all you viewers watching: get plenty of rest and always do your best. And be sure to hit that subscribe button down below this video as well to become an MRBer on this wrestling review show.